Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome back to another Sims 4 speedrunning video, or welcome to the channel if you're new here. So in today's video I'm going to be building a house in the world of Willow Creek, which is one of the base game worlds, and I'm going to be building a huge family colonial home. So this is built in the neighbourhood in Willow Creek where I kind of class it as like the upper middle class area, because if you were to look at Willow Creek, you'll notice it's separated into 4 different separate neighbourhoods. You kind of have like the starter neighbourhood where all the starter houses are. Normally if you want to do like a rags to riches kind of challenge and you want your Sims to live in Willow Creek, your Sims probably going to move in there first. And then there is a neighbourhood where Bob and Eliza Pancakes live. Now I do actually know the name of that neighbourhood. It's called Courtyard Lane, I think. But I will never refer to it as Courtyard Lane. I'll just always refer to it in my head as the neighbourhood where Bob and Eliza Pancakes live. And then there is this neighbourhood which I'm not too sure of the name, but this is where the Goth family live. And then there is one more neighbourhood where you kind of got these really big lots and there's only 2 of them, and it's kind of like the really expensive area. Now this is just the one level below in my eyes, next to the expensive area, so more like upper middle class. And yeah, I just really wanted to sit down and actually build a house here for my save file, because this house is going to be in my save. And yeah, so hopefully you guys like it. So this house has 3 bedrooms and 6 bathrooms, which I know is a weird bathroom to bedroom ratio, but for the idea for the Sim family that are going to be living here in my save file, I really didn't need any more than 3 bedrooms. But if you want to download this house at the gallery, maybe you've got a bigger family in mind, then you could definitely have them live in this house. I feel like it's very easily expandable. Plus there's other rooms which I just decided not to make into bedrooms, so maybe you do want to make them into bedrooms. It's completely up to you. But if you was to look at the upstairs portion of this house, it is where the 3 bedrooms are, and it's also where 3 of the bathrooms are. Now I decided to make all of the bathrooms upstairs into en-suites, and there's no main bathroom, which I decided not to do, because if your Sims have got their own ensuite coming from a door from their bedroom going into a bathroom, realistically your Sim's never really going to go into like the main bathroom, because why would they need to? And so I decided to make the rooms which could have been maybe extra bedrooms or extra bathrooms into kind of activity rooms which your Sims can actually interact with, get their skill up, maybe have a little bit of fun in there. And so as well as the 3 bedrooms and the 3 en-suites on the upstairs level, there is also a home office. Now I was kind of thinking in my head that one of the Sims that are going to live here in my save is going to be a lawyer. Now they're not going to be like a regular lawyer, they're going to be a very good lawyer who is quite expensive to hire. And so I really wanted to dedicate a home office to the lawyer. And so maybe if they're reading up on a new case, getting some information, looking through case files, I really wanted there to be a little separate office for them to do so. I feel like it's quite professional, and I feel like this lawyer isn't your average Joe kind of lawyer, probably really expensive to hire, and I just felt like it would be very suiting for them to have their own home office. And so also quite professional as well. I feel like whenever you see the films and a parent's a lawyer, they've always got this massive home office and no one's ever allowed to go in. This is the films that I watch anyway. But moving on from that as well, there is actually an activities room in this house. So I'm not gonna lie, I didn't actually know what to do with this room. I was thinking that it could possibly be a guest bedroom. I was also thinking at one point it could possibly be a gym or even a music room. Now I didn't go for the gym idea because I felt like it would be a bit weird to have a gym on the upstairs level of the house. Maybe it's just me, but I always feel like gyms should either be in a separate outbuilding or kind of off to the side in the downstairs of the house. Maybe that is just me, but it just didn't seem like it flowed with the rest of the house, if that makes any sense. And so I decided not to go with the gym idea, and then I kind of went with the music idea, but very loosely, because I was thinking about maybe having a grand piano in there and maybe some guitars and maybe a violin. But then I was thinking, I kind of don't feel like any of the Sims that are living in this house are going to be massively into music, so they play an instrument. I feel like they all like music and enjoy music, one of the teenagers in particular, but I don't feel like they actually play music themselves. And so I kind of decided to make it into an activity room with a keyboard, because I feel like that's the best of both worlds. So in there we've got the keyboard, we've also got a bookcase, we've also kind of got the decoration box, which your Sims can kind of decorate the house for the holidays and like kind of like the different seasons. I felt like it was basically a miscellaneous room, but it's kind of got activities in there so your Sims won't get bored. There's also like an art easel in there. I think I put a fish tank in there. Long story short, your Sims got enough activities in this house, so they probably won't even have to leave it if your Sims don't want to leave it. Not even just in the activity room, just in different areas of the house. As you can see, I'm designing the pool house right now, which I absolutely love. I feel like the pool house just kind of tops off the house and makes it feel a little bit more special and a little bit more expensive. I decided to make the pool house into kind of like a club hangout. I was thinking thinking that maybe one of the Sims that live here, maybe one of the teenagers is maybe in a club, or maybe both of them are, and this is where their club hangout is. I feel like I've done this quite a lot, but I really want to have a lot of different clubs in my save file. I want different clubs for all different types of Sims, with all different types of traits and different ages. I just really want to try and have a lot of different, you know when you watch Mean Girls, this is going to be a really weird reference, but I watched Mean Girls last night. You know when you watch Mean Girls and they kind of do the lunchroom, what's it called, like the cafeteria seating chart, and you got all these different groups. I kind of want to do as many groups as that, but more than that in my save file, just because the club system with the Sims 4 Get Together is just so good, and I just really want to make as much use of it as possible. And so maybe it's another club hangout, or maybe it's just where the family likes to go and watch a film. In there is a little separate kitchen with an ice cream machine and a popcorn machine. There's also a little like mini fridge and then a microwave. Then there is also like a little separate bathroom which just has a shower, toilet and sink. And then in the actual main body, if you will, of the pool house, there is a TV area with seating areas so your Sims can watch films. There's art easels, there's dartboards. If you wanted to though, you could definitely make that room into maybe like a butler's quarter. I was thinking that if you did actually want to play with the butler system in The Sims 4, then you could definitely just make it into a little tiny mini outhouse, kind of like a posh shed. I've done a posh shed before in my video where I built a house with a tree house. If you haven't seen that, I'll actually put a card on the screen now and you can go and watch it. But basically I built a house that had an outbuilding, which is basically like a posh shed. It was like a mini house within the property of the house. If you wanted to do that, you could definitely do that, or you can make it into a gym. Honestly, the possibilities are endless what you could do with this house. You can change it in any way, shape or form. The only one thing that I do ask once you download this house off the gallery is please just do not re-upload it as your own. Also, I do want to mention before I forget that I was actually looking at a picture when I was building this. Whenever I look at a picture, maybe to get inspiration or whether I try to replicate something in the game, I always like to mention it just so you know that, I didn't pop this idea out of my head. But I actually found this picture on Pinterest. I'll pop a picture of it on the screen now. I went onto Pinterest, not even to look for building inspiration, just because I love the platform. I love Pinterest, but that's a different subject. But I went onto Pinterest and it was the first house that popped up on my Pinterest feed. I literally saw it and I was like, yep, I am building that. I instantly fell in love with it. And sometimes it's quite strange. Sometimes I'll literally spend hours looking on multiple different websites to try and get some inspiration for different types of builds in the game. And I literally just went onto Pinterest, don't even think I was looking for building inspiration, saw the house, fell in love with it. And so yeah, I always like to mention it though whenever I do find a picture and I try to replicate it or I get inspiration from it, just so you know. But I have now moved on and I've started landscaping. Now I don't actually keep in the footage for all the landscaping just because I didn't want to make the video really long. If you're familiar with my channel then you might know this, but I try and keep my videos 25 minutes or less than that, and that's normally with screenshots, and currently without the screenshots this video stands at 31 minutes, and so it's definitely quite a longer video. But I really did want to keep in some portions of the landscaping. I get quite a lot of people tell me that they like watching me landscape, and so if it's what you like, I'm gonna keep it in, do you know what I mean? So I did decide to keep in the front portion of the landscaping, but I did actually decide to cut out the back garden just because it's basically the exact same plants, it's just different formation, different little flower beds, and like I said, didn't want to make the video really long. I actually had 9 hours and 6 minutes of recorded footage for this house. Now that's not actually all the ideas and all of the kind of beforehand recorded, that is just of me actually building it, because I've mentioned this before in my videos, but what I do before the majority of my videos is I actually go into the game and kind of plan out the build and how it's going to look, like the structure of it and all that kind of stuff, just because I never used to do this in my videos, and I feel like I used to go in, no idea what I was doing, and I used to spin the camera around left, right, centre, up, down, and I'd probably give people motion sickness. And so especially once I speed it up as well, and so what I try to do now is I go in before I actually start recording and I map out the build, how it's going to look, like what the roof is going to look like and whatnot, just before I actually start recording. So that 9 hours isn't actually including the prep, if you will, for this build. So I think it's safe to say that I definitely did have quite a lot of footage for this build, and so I just decided to cut out the back garden landscaping just because it's the exact same basically as the front garden, like I've mentioned, just different formation, different flower beds, and you will see it as I spin around in the back garden and I start furnishing it. I did also decide to cut out all of the hallways and the bathrooms. Now bathrooms I personally find quite boring anyway to watch being built, and so I've included the screenshots, but you won't actually see me build them. Normally I try and include at least one bathroom in all of my videos, but Again, I just didn't want to make the video really long, but anyway, moving on from that, as you can see, I'm just going in now and just doing like the path up to the house. As you can see, I did actually just do some terrain paint below the pathway. Now, I know you might think, but what's the point? You can't actually see it. If you actually was to put a little bit of terrain paint underneath some like floor tiles on the grass, you'll actually see a little bit of mud around the edges, and it just looks so realistic to me. I've been doing this in my builds for the longest time, and I feel like I never mention it, and I feel like people might think, what are you doing? Like, you can't actually see it. But if you actually look really closely, you can actually see a little bit of mud like underneath the path. And realistically, if you were to put a new like driveway down or a new like outdoor patio down, it's not going to be seamless. It's not going to be like patio and then exactly grass. There's going to be a little bit mud around the edges, and so I always like to add it into the pathways leading up to houses, just because, I mean, I say this in every single one of my videos, but if you've watched my channel, you'll know that I like realism, and so it's a little realistic touch that I always like to add. But as you can see, now I've actually just moved on. I've actually moved back to the front of the house, and I've decided to put some ivy on it. Now, I think I actually cut out the majority of me putting the ivy on because it took me so long. I put this ivy all around the areas of the house, and it would have just been me doing ivy for about a solid 15 minutes, and I felt like that'd be quite a bit boring, and so I did decide to cut the majority of it out. I tried to keep in kind of like the front of the house ivy, but like the little nooks and crannies and the little tiny corners at like parts of the back of the build I decided to cut out. But again, you will see it as I spin around and I start furnishing the back of the house. By the way, the ivy is from Discover University and it's in the live edit menu. I get questions quite often whenever I don't mention if I use ivy in my builds and I don't mention it. It's from Discover University, it's in the live edit menu. I can't remember the live edit cheat off the top of my head because I've got a mod installed, which is also in the description box down below. But what I'll do is I'll find the cheat and I'll pop it on the screen now. And now, coming to think of it, I can't actually remember the debug cheat either, just because I've had this mod in my game for such a long time. I'm definitely going to have to do a quick Google after this voiceover to kind of like remind myself of all the different cheats in the game. But anyway, moving on from that, as you can see, I'm just doing the floor plan now. I actually did the floor plan for this house quite late into the building structure of it, because normally what I'll do is I'll build like the structure and then I'll go in and do the floor plan and then, you know, landscaping and wallpapering and then etc. But for some reason I literally left the floor plan to like kind of like the last minute. I don't know why. I kind of built it in like a backwards way for this house, but now I have actually moved on and I've started furnishing the back garden. When I was building this, I was like, this is 100% going to be the house that all of your teenagers come to in the summer if they want to have a pool party. Just because I feel like the teenagers that are living in this house are maybe quite popular, maybe got quite a lot of friends. You know, when you used to watch MTV Cribs, is that program even still on? I don't even know, but I used to watch MTV Cribs when I was younger, and they used to go around their house and there used to be like a pool house and all these different activity rooms, and then they used to have like a million different friends in each room. They used to literally be about 100 of their friends all dotted around the house. I feel like this house is quite a good house for that, and I feel like the Sims that will live here, like the teenagers, they would have quite a lot of friends and it would be quite a social place. And so I really wanted there to be a lot of sunbathing areas for like your Sims to, you know, sunbathe or have a pool party or whatnot. I feel like I've actually barely spoken about the actual family itself. All that I've mentioned is I imagine that one of the parents is going to be a lawyer. Now, I was imagining for the other parent that they might either be a doctor or a stay-at-home parent. I'm not sure on which one. I kind of like the idea of both, but then I also like the idea of them being a stay-at-home parent and they actually are a step parent, and so they're not biological to the teenagers in this house. Maybe they're just married into this house just purely for the money and there's no romance involved. Maybe they're just waiting for their partner to pop their clogs and so they get the family estate. I don't know. I really like the idea, but that was kind of like the idea that I had for the parents. And now there is also another 2 teenagers living in this house. I imagine one of the teenagers to be really into comedy and also video games. I feel like they've got a slight interest in music, but not enough to actually play a musical instrument. I would absolutely love if we could get bands in The Sims 4, because that would just, I just want a drum set. That's actually what I mainly want. I want a drum set in the game because I feel like this Sim would have probably played the drums, but unfortunately we don't have that in The Sims 4 yet. I'm really hoping that one day we just get bands in The Sims 4 and drum kits, and there's so many other little things that we had in previous games I really wish that we could have in The Sims 4. Like when I was also decorating the other teenagers' room, I imagined them to be maybe a Sim that wants to be a vet when they grow up, and so I really wanted to add like a small little animal into this. That sounds really strange, but I wanted to add a pet into their bedroom. But the My First Pet stuff, like the hamster cage and the rat cage and the hedgehog cage, there's also another one. Can't remember what it's actually called. It begins with a B. I think it's like a little mini sheep or something. But all of the My First Pet stuff, they're like the cages, they're just so childlike, and I really didn't imagine these teenagers to be younger teenagers. I feel like they might be in like their senior year or something, and so I didn't want to add something that I actually see to be like a childlike object into the room of kind of like an older teenager. And so I was really wishing that we could just have like smaller animals introduced into The Sims 4, like snakes and lizards and spiders and rabbits and guinea pigs and all the smaller animals that we didn't get in My First Pet stuff. But then I think, but are we ever going to be able to get a pack like that again? Because we all know that My First Pet stuff wasn't very well received, and I don't feel like they would ever add any of them into the game. Maybe possibly they could add them into a future update, but I highly doubt it. Maybe the pack that they would possibly come in, it would be Generations, because I feel like it would kind of fit in a weird way. But I feel like I've been rambling on about spiders and lizards and stuff, but I basically imagine the other teenager to be really into animals and they want to be a vet when they're older, and so I really wanted to kind of go with that mindset and that kind of idea for them. But I just couldn't add the hamster cage or anything like that into their bedroom, just because it looks like it was made for a 10-year-old, and like I said, I imagine them to be a lot older than 10 years old. But anyway, moving on from that, as you can see, I've now actually started furnishing the inside of this pool house. So I kind of designed it to be quite generic for any kind of club. So in here we do have a little kitchen area. Your Sims got a popcorn machine, they got an ice cream machine. Maybe it's a really hot day and they want to go and make an ice cream. There's a microwave and a mini fridge, and then there's a small bathroom that has, you know, like bathroom items, shower, sink, toilet. And then there is also this little kind of like seating area. This could be made into a movie room if you wanted to get one of the bigger screens from Movie Hangout. You could definitely do that. Maybe if you had a different club in mind that you wanted this to be their club hangout, maybe you've got a club that likes to play chess and drink coffee and play darts, you could do that. You can kind of like manipulate it to be for any type of club, but I kind of did it so it's kind of for like any type of club, so it's kind of generic. It's got generic items that I feel like a lot of Sims enjoy, so like a dartboard and an art easel, and obviously a massive TV in the middle. But like I said, manipulate it in any way, shape or form that you would like. This is just kind of like the idea that I had already mentioned, but I feel like if you wanted to, you could definitely turn this into like a butler's quarter, maybe an extra bedroom. I feel like this could easily be a very good gym as well, quite a big spacious gym. It's also already got the bathroom there, so you don't have to make your sweaty gym Sims walk through the house to take a shower. Honestly, you can make it into whatever you want. I just tried to make it into kind of like a generic club hangout. But anyway, moving on from that, as you can see, I've now moved on to the inside of this house, and I've started off by furnishing the kitchen. I absolutely love the way that this kitchen came together. I really wanted it to feel quite grand, quite luxury. I feel like when you look at the exterior of this house and the garden and the little pool house, it feels quite grand, expensive and luxury. I wanted to basically bring that into the inside of this house by doing like kind of like expensive furnishings and quite expensive looking kitchens and stuff. And so what I did with the kitchen is I tried to make it look like the oven was built in. So what I did is I got two Snowy Escapes oven and I placed them directly next to each other, and then on either side I got some base game cabinets, which are like the long tall ones. I put them either side, and then also put some smaller cabinets above the ovens, and then some extractor fans, and I feel like it gives off the illusion that it's like a built-in oven, and I really like it. I also put some more cabinets around like the rest of the kitchen, as you can see, and then I also did use some vampire counters. Now I didn't actually use the matching cabinets to the counters, so the counters, the black and white ones, are from vampires, and then the cabinets which are on the wall, the all white ones, are base game. Now I do actually quite like the cabinets that we got from the vampire pack, but the only thing is, if you actually look at them, they look quite Victorian looking and they look quite traditional, and I really didn't want that kind of feel in this house. They kind of had like little curves on like some of the panels of the wood, and also some of the kind of sections that you have in this cabinet kind of has like pottery and china in them, and it's these plates and bowls, and some of them have like little pink like kind of designs in them, which I do actually quite like, but I just feel like didn't really suit in with this build, and so I felt like the base game ones were quite a nice option. As you can see, I also just did something here with a little sink area where I kind of built a wall, and then I basically merged a little hand towel into the cabinet. I don't know why I haven't done this. I've had this idea in my head for so long. Whenever I come to doing sink areas in my builds, I always forget about it. But when I was doing this build, I kind of reminded myself. Basically, what I did is I just used a towel, like wall decoration, which is from Get Together, and merged it into the cabinet. And it looks like a little tea towel. So when your Sims go and wash their hands, they can then dry their hands using the tea towel. I don't know why I don't do this more often, but I just really like that little realistic touch, and so I decided to add it into this kitchen. I also have like a little fridge area in this kitchen which has like built-in cabinets around it. I love this fridge. It's from the Country Kitchen kit. That is so hard to say, but it's from that kit. And the fridge to me, it really reminds myself of kind of like a Smeg fridge. And if you don't know what a Smeg fridge is, it's quite an expensive fridge, and they come in these all different kind of colours. And maybe it was designed of a Smeg fridge, I don't know, but it just really reminds me of one. And as they're quite expensive, I really wanted to include it into this build. But anyway, moving on from that, as you can see, I've now started furnishing the laundry room. I love this laundry room, probably one of my favourite laundry rooms that I've ever done. It's so big, it's got everything that your sim needs if your sim really likes doing chores and cleaning. So in here we do have the washing machine and the tumble dryer, and then there is a sink in the middle, and then I also do end up putting a hoover or a vacuum, whatever you want to call it, and then just loads of little different decorational items to make it feel more lived in and more realistic. So I added these little racks onto the walls, which are actually empty racks, and then I moved objects from towels on top of them. I also added this little shelving unit in the corner. This one is from Eco Lifestyle, and I actually sized it down by 1. So as you can see, I actually placed some like washing liquid like kind of objects the original height, because when you size objects down in the Sims and you want to place something on them, the object will always try to clip to the original height. So I kind of place some like random like kind of like washing bottles onto the original height, and then I moved objects, some more towels onto there, some laundry detergent. I actually used the laundry detergent which is from Get Famous. I'm pretty sure it's for like a laundry commercial or something, but it looks like it's washing up powder and washing stuff for your Sims to do laundry, and so I decided to add it into this build, as well as some other like laundry detergents and liquids and stuff that looks like it could be in a laundry room. I used them ones from the Laundry Day stuff pack, and then I also do just go around and add a little ironing board, a little broom, and then we do also have a little vacuum hoover in the corner as well. But now I've actually moved on, I've actually started furnishing the lounge room. So originally this wasn't actually going to be the lounge room. When I was actually doing the floor plan, I was thinking that this room was going to be the dining room, and then what is now the dining room was going to be the lounge room. But it actually made a lot more sense if this was turned into kind of like the sitting room or like the TV room, because I really wanted there to be a fireplace within the lounge room, and where I originally wanted it to be, there was no exterior chimney on the outside, and so I just decided to switch it around. As you can see, I did actually use the Paranormal Stuff 3-seater sofa, and then paired it with the Tiny Living Stuff 2-seater, and then the Cats and Dogs armchair. Completely different packs, but all of the furnishings kind of go together, and they all kind of have like little pillows and little blankets, and they just match so seamlessly. It looks like they could be all from the same pack, and I love it when you get packs that from like, say if I've got something from Vampires, if it matches something from, I don't know, like My First Pet stuff, it's not going to. That was the worst comparison ever, because they're completely different packs, but it's just really nice when you've got completely different packs and they just match really seamlessly. But anyway, moving on from that, in this little lounge room we do just have the Cats and Dogs fireplace, and then I moved objects, a TV on top of it, and then we have a little radio station, a bookcase, and then a little seating area where the Cats and Dogs armchair is. And over here I'm focusing on this kind of little photo wall. I really wanted to make it look like friends and family photos, but I think I ended up just putting 2 singular photos because I couldn't quite figure out how to make it look quite natural and like an actual collage instead of just like a load of singular photos. But now I have actually moved on, I've started furnishing the dining room. Now these chairs, right, I love these chairs. They are some of my favourite chairs in the whole of the game, and I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think I've ever used them in speed build, because basically we got these chairs from movie Hangout stuff, right, and they come in some bizarre swatches. Don't be fooled though by the swatches, because among all of the purple and blue and green and vibrant patterns, there is this one singular swatch of this chair, and it's this swatch that I've actually used, and it's so nice. And I remember when movie Hangout stuff first came out, these chairs were everywhere in all of my Sims houses, dotted all over the place, because I absolutely loved them. And the same with the sofa as well. I don't tend to like the sofa as much nowadays, but I used to love the sofa and the armchair as well. They're just so nice and plain, and they just, even though they do come in quite bizarre swatches, they also do come in this really one nice swatch, and so I really wanted to incorporate it into this build. I can't believe I barely ever use these chairs. They're so nice, and I just felt like they fitted in so nicely into this room as well. As you can see, I did use a big table in here. Maybe this family has a lot of dinner parties or something. And then in the corner, I actually used an object which I don't think I've ever used before, and it's kind of like this Discover University, kind of like china cabinet. It's got like fancy bowls and plates in there, and I felt like it suited into this dining room quite nicely. I also really like the way that the light comes in from the windows and it kind of goes onto the floor. It's so nice, and it's the same for this whole side of this house. I haven't even spoken about the lighting situation in this neighbourhood and in this lot, because it's dreadful. So as you might notice, I'm going to go a bit off subject here, but as you might notice, in the bottom left hand corner I've got my Sim simoleons going down. Now normally if I'm building any type of house apart from a starter house, because I did actually have a Sim available on the lot when I was building my last video, which was a starter house, just because I wanted to stick to the budget. But any other kind of video that I do, I never have a sim move in. I actually had to have a sim move in because when I originally went in, I was planning out this lot, it was so dark, and I don't know what it is with this neighbourhood in Willow Creek, and it's the same for the map view. You could literally build like a neon yellow house, for instance, and you'd go into like the map view and it would be like a mustard dark colour yellow. It's like, why is that a thing? And so I actually had to move a sim in when I was building this, because when you're actually in build mode, you have 4 different lighting options. You have morning, midday, afternoon, or like evening, and then nighttime. All of the modes were so like, they're so dark and you can't see what you're doing, and so I had to actually move a sim in when I was building this just so I could actually see what I was building. And so the lighting is really nice once you're actually playing the game and not actually building on this lot, because the lot, when you try and build it without a sim on the lot, it's too dark, you can't see a thing. So I'd highly recommend, if you do want to build in this lot, have a sim move in and then start building, because then you'd actually be able to see and you'll be able to see the colour swatches and stuff properly, because without it, it's an extremely dark lot. But anyway, moving on from that, as you can see, I've now moved onto the upstairs of this house, and I've started off by furnishing the teenagers' bedrooms. So this is for the bedroom that I imagine for the teenager that is really into comedy and video games. Now, I don't know if I've mentioned it so far, but I have playtested this house. Like always, I playtest every single one of my builds before I put them onto the gallery to make sure they're all completely usable and you won't run into any problems. It's the same for this house. I've playtested it, everything works. The only one thing that I actually run into is, as you can see, I imagined this to be, well, I say as you can see, as you would have heard, I imagined this sim to be really into video games, and so I did actually add a TV kind of like opposite the bed. Now, we did actually recently get an update where your sims can actually sit on the bed and watch TV, which, why did we not have that in the base game from the get-go? I do not know, but now that is a thing that we can do, and I didn't realise that you couldn't have video games being played in the bed. I just assumed that you could, because you can watch TV. And so when my sim actually tried to play a video game, they couldn't actually play it because there was nowhere for them to sit down. So all I added is, I added kind of like a little ottoman, just kind of like at the end of the bed below it, just so your sims can actually sit down and play their games. I did add this in off camera though when I was playtesting the house, so you won't actually see me add it in, but I used the one which is from City Living. It looks like it's kind of got like DVDs or maybe like game cases into the bottom of it. I felt like it suited into the room, and so you will see it in the screenshots, you just won't see me add it in into the actual building when I'm actually building it. But apart from that, everything else works fine. There's no other problems. The one problem that I do run into quite often, but I feel like this is just a problem within the game itself and not particular builds, because I've had it in my own personal builds where I do rags to riches, and basically I personally like to play with rags to riches kind of sims, and normally my sims don't have a lot of money, and so when they do actually have a computer on a desk, it will just be a computer. They won't even get a lamp, they won't even get any decorations because it's a rags to riches and they don't have any money. And so normally what I actually have to do in my own personal gameplay, when my sims actually want to use the computer, I actually have to get them to sit down on the chair and then they can go on the computer. If you just click on their computer as like a single object, sims won't ever seem to go onto the computer, but if you get them to sit down at the desk and then go on the computer, it seems to work. And it was the same thing that happened in this build, but this happens quite often. I don't know if it's just my game that maybe needs an update or something, but even if I have a desk, like I said, in my own personal gameplay, even if my sim has a computer on a desk and it's got nothing else on it, I still have to do that. But I just thought I'd mention it just in case you were curious if you did maybe have a similar problem in your game. I know people experience different bugs and some people don't. Like, I remember, I don't know if anyone else remembers this, but a little while ago there was like a glitch in the game and your sim just had loads of clay and loads of them future cubes in their personal pockets, and they would just come out of nowhere. Like literally you'd go into your Sims inventory and there'd be like 50 or 60 clay molds. It's like, where did these come from? And it was like a massive thing, and some people had it in their game and some people didn't. So I just thought I'd mention it just in case you are one of them people that maybe want to download this house and you want playing it, and maybe that is a particular bug or something that's in your game. You do actually have to get your sim to sit on the computer or sit at the desk before you get them to go on the computer, if that makes any sense. But anyway, moving on from that, as you can see, I'm just going around now and finishing up this second teenager's bedroom. Like I've already mentioned, I imagine this sim to really love animals and want to grow up and be a vet when they're older, but obviously you can have whatever kind of sim that you want to live in here. I obviously didn't end up going with the My First Pet Stuff hamster cage like I've already mentioned, because it's just far too childlike, and so instead I decided to put an art easel in here. But now I've actually moved on, I've actually started furnishing like the home office, the lawyer's room, put it that way. So this is where the lawyer will come in, they'll research some cases, get some case information, and just do their job. This is where they work from home. I'm pretty sure, because I haven't played with it in a while, but I'm pretty sure with a lawyer career, you can actually work from home on particular days. And so maybe if your sim wants to do that, this is where they'll be spending the majority of their day. But in here, I feel like it's got everything that a home office really needs. It's got a bookcase, it's got a desk area with a computer on it. I also add in that little globe. Now the globe is not the one from Vintage Glamour Stuff, because the one from that pack actually kind of doubles up as like a bar. Your sims can actually get some drinks out of it. I just decided to use a base game one though, and then I also did just add some kind of like life achievements onto the wall. So maybe when this sim went and got their degree, they hung it up on the wall. When this sim maybe went and did, I don't know, maybe they did something for charity and they got like a plaque for it. I just kind of felt like all their different life achievements would be placed up on the wall in their office. But anyway, now I have actually moved on to the last room in this house, which is the parents' bedroom. So in here, I went for like a very vintage glamour kind of theme for this bedroom. I used the vintage glamour wallpaper and also the vintage glamour bed. I also added this fireplace, which is from the Paranormal Stuff pack. It comes in this really nice grey swatch and it kind of matched the room quite nicely. I feel like this particular house is quite old, and normally in older houses, in England anyway, you'll normally find fireplaces dotted all around the place. As I'm literally doing this voiceover, I've literally got a fireplace on the left hand side of me because I live in a very old house in England in the countryside, and I've got this kind of like metal Victoria. It's not my cup of tea, so I wouldn't have chose it, but I mean, I wasn't here when the house was built hundreds of years ago. But I feel like with old houses, it's quite common to have a fireplace just in different rooms all around the house, and I kind of wanted to bring that idea into this build. But there is also this little dressing table area in the corner over here, which I've just cluttered up with some, you know, like hair dryers and hairbrushes. I also used some debug like eyeshadow palettes and lipsticks and perfumes. Tried to make it feel like it was a bit more realistic and a little bit more lived in. And I'm just going to go around the room now and just finish it off and just add some final details. But anyway guys, I am actually going to end this voiceover here. So as always, you can download this build via the gallery. My origin ID is JessicapieYT, or you could just search for the hashtag JessicapieYT or just the hashtag Jessicapie. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, if you do like my content, then please do subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in my next Sims 4 speedbuilding video. Bye guys.